Hey guys, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe to stay up to date with all my videos. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about my recruitment process. Many of you guys have been asking me to make a video about my own Division I journey. And many of you have asked me about the MLB draft. So in this video, I'm going to be covering both. Make sure if you're a different athlete, maybe you play a different sport, the recruiting tips that I'm going to give in this video work for the same way. I played football, so in this video, I'm going to be talking about my football and recruitment as well. Stay tuned. There's a lot of good stuff coming. So yeah, guys, I'll start at my freshman year of high school, man. Growing up, I played 3 sports. I played baseball, basketball, and I played football. Once I got to high school, I felt that I was going to have to drop one sport to be able to manage the workload of the other 2. So I dropped basketball, and then I started to begin my journey trying to chase scholarships to play baseball and football. So I wanted to be a dual sport athlete. I was like 5'6", maybe 120 pounds soaking wet. I was not strong and I wasn't fast by any means either. So I found myself during that time have to get good at the things many people didn't care about. And many of my teammates, they were worried about exposure. And my dad had always told me, development is more important than exposure, especially as a freshman and sophomore, especially early in your high school years, that you develop and make sure your skills are ready for, the opportunity when a coach comes to see you. In order to be able to get recruited and play, you have to be ready. You actually have to play at your school first. So if you're in high school and if you're thinking about college and you haven't even stepped foot on the varsity field yet, you need to rearrange your priorities. Make your priority stepping on the field for the varsity team. So that summer of my sophomore year was focused on, just being able to fulfill my role for the varsity team the next year. And as a football player, this was being the backup quarterback. And on the baseball team, this was trying to get in the lineup any way I can, whether that was being a pitcher, or being a third baseman, or my favorite position, playing shortstop. So those days included waking up at 5:30 in the morning, 5 days of the week, to get to 6 a.m. workouts for football, and do that for like 3 hours. And then in the afternoons, we had baseball practice for our summer team. So on the weekends, I also played tournaments. So with the heat indexes getting, close to 100, some days it made you want to quit, but that summer really taught me what work ethic was really like. Also really started to learn what varsity players did in their off season and how hard they worked, to get in their position. Or looking at the seniors who were way stronger, faster, and better at the sport than I had, I realized I had some development to take care of. And so yeah, guys, this leads me to my next point. And for those of you who are looking to elevate your game, or maybe you don't know how to develop, pick out a guy on your team who's big, who's in the position that you want to be in. That is a great way to keep yourself in check. I remember that whole summer going into my sophomore year, looking at these older guys and measuring my game up against theirs. Because if they're a varsity starter, there's a lot of things that they do that you need to add to your game to be able to make it to that point. And not only that, make sure you measure against people who are better than you too, because they can teach you a lot of things about your game. I was not ready to step on a varsity field, so I had to make sure I humbled myself and learned more, before I was ready to step on the field. And so yeah, guys, I ended up playing well that summer for my summer school team. And I ended up earning myself a potential starting spot on next year's spring baseball team. So the hard work for baseball seemed to be working. So yeah, guys, this leads me into my sophomore season. And this season would prove to be very exciting, but also very revealing. Guys, I was still undersized. I was not strong, and I wasn't really that fast, to be honest with you, at that point. I wasn't able to really provide, on the varsity team for football because of that. So I mainly took my snaps, AV games, and that was my sophomore football season for the main part for me. After the season, ended up emailing my highlights, of just my JV games to sent emails to probably close to 200 different coaches at that time. Yeah, guys, around Christmas break time, I checked my emails again, and some of the coaches actually hit me back, to my surprise. Some were potential offers, some were contact information, and some were telling me that they were going to come watch me in the future, when I get a chance to play on the varsity team. So, guys, I cannot emphasize enough, being able to email your clips and be able to swallow your pride, even if they don't respond. It can only be a positive outcome. If they don't respond, they don't respond. But emailing coaches that year has been one of the most productive things I could have done in my whole sophomore season. So following break, guys, it was time for baseball season, and because I had an actual shot to contribute on the varsity team, often I felt that I had a better chance to play collegiately as a baseball player in comparison to a football player, which wasn't necessarily true, but that's how I was thinking. But yeah, guys, going into the season, I still had 0 offers, emails, phone calls. Nothing. So yeah, guys, we're still preseason, of my sophomore season, and I'm doing whatever I can to break that starting lineup. And so I started to develop some routines, that were going to help me do that. And once I had earned that position, I was going to continue to do these things so that I never gave my spot up for any reason. So to do this, first things first, my grades had to be good. Our high school team, we had a rule that your GPA had to be, I don't remember what it was. Outside of our coach's rules for us being able to play, if I wanted to get recruited and play at the next level, I had to keep my grades up, so I could get some academic scholarships in case I needed them, which I do now. So, looking back, I'm glad I paid attention to my grades, and I kept my grades up the whole time. So next, I had to make sure I kept my body healthy. As a student athlete, this is your engine. So, everything from sleep to nutrition is as the center of what you're doing every day. Everything you do revolves around how you treat, the machine that keeps you going. So, I really took pride my sophomore year in making sure I got stronger so that I could play the whole season, because the work you put in the weight room allows you to play the length of a baseball season. So that, I made sure I did everything, I was supposed to, getting out to the field, and making sure I did everything right on the practice plan, with a lot of attention to detail, and also that I could execute. When in game situations you needed a bunt, I was going to do it. Hit and run, I was going to do it, And, I think a lot of people underrate, how important those things actually are. When you get to the recruiting part, college coaches will call your high school coach. And if your high school coach relays that you can't execute, then these college programs are definitely not going to want you in their program, because you can't help them. So definitely executing and embracing your role on the team, especially your high school team, if you're trying to be a starter, especially if you want to get recruited, that's equally as important as anything else. So keep that in mind. But yeah, guys, when the first game came, I lined myself up to be a starter at third base, and that was the role I embraced. And the whole time, I understood how important development was going to be. A lot of my teammates, like I said, they wanted to get seen, but my dad always told me, you want to be ready for when a coach comes to see you and whatnot. Looking at the varsity players that were on my team, I was not ready, to be seen by a college coach. So, I kept my head down and I grinded that whole sophomore season. And from that time on, I did not give my role back. I did what I could to earn it every day. And throughout the course of the season, I mainly played third. I played shortstop every now and then. I was a pitcher, too. I actually learned that I was one of the better pitchers on our team, something I had no idea of or whatever at that point. Sophomore year, I actually pitched in the state championship game. So I went from a kid who was undersized, slow, not strong, was just a position player, to ended up being the starting pitcher in the state championship game my sophomore season. So, never count yourself out of anything. So following state championship, I then played my summer with my school summer team, but also while I was learning a new position of football, and that being wide receiver. But this summer ended up being the most attention I'd get in the recruiting process, and so this was a really exciting time. So yeah, guys, at the end of my sophomore season, I uploaded my sophomore highlights on YouTube, and you could probably still see them. This ended up getting a lot of attention as college coaches really began to really like that, the versatility I showed in my sophomore season, being able to play third, short, and be a good pitcher. So, it was at this time that I actually got recruited to play all three. So over the course of the early summer, I had started to get contacted by Nickel State and Tulane, and some other JUCOs, in my state as well. My recruiting process kind of cooled off for a while after that, until all of a sudden, in 1 week, I got contacted by UL, the school I play at now, LSU, TCU and Houston were among the main schools who had contacted me at that point. I was extremely honored by all of these. For a while, these were the only schools that had contacted me. I was honored to be contacted by these schools for baseball. And now I could begin to start, weighing out my options. But this is also when I began to understand that I might be a better baseball player than I was a football player. But I didn't completely convince myself yet. I still wanted the opportunity to prove myself the following year for football season. So yeah, guys, my junior year began with football season. At the time, I was still trying to get some offers for football, like I said. And our team could have a shot to win the state championship this year. So, at this current time, I was completely sold out to football, and I gave it my all. As the season wore on, junior college opportunities I had at the time, were not going to supersede my opportunities that I had for baseball. So in the middle of football season, I committed to UL to play baseball. And it was a very exciting time for me. Playing for my hometown school, where I would have an opportunity to fight for a spot my freshman year was a no-brainer. Yeah, guys, we ended up playing that football season out. We ended up making it to the semifinals. We got eliminated by our crosstown rivals. Wasn't fun. But, that year we played baseball. I was still driven to continue to develop, even though I had committed. And we ended up winning a state championship my junior year for baseball. So, that was a really exciting time. Guys, upon the beginning of my senior year, my recruitment, was shut down. But I continued to keep my head down and grind. Things that happened after that, started to become extreme blessings to me. I was satisfied with my choice, but, I still love the game of football. And I still really wanted to work really hard at it. So I gave football my all. People started, to reach out to me again about football. So UL, where I go now, they offered me like some walk-on spots, and I was really excited about that. I wasn't really driven to be a dual sport athlete at this point anymore. I had been sent some questionnaires from some pro scouts. This was getting to be a very exciting time for me, but being put on the MLB draft radar, this was a big time for me. To see all my work pay off for me was a beautiful thing to happen. Our senior year for baseball, and we capped it off with a state championship. So, it was the cherry on top. It was one of the greatest moments of my life, being able to play my last high school game, dogpiling in the state championship. That was such a great experience. After the state championship, I had gone to a few pre-draft workouts, work out for some teams, and so that was really exciting too. So yeah, guys, as the draft started, the first 2 days, I was on the phone sometimes, but I could never reach what I wanted. So when the third day of the draft came around, I kind of stopped paying attention to it, and I came back and my phone was frozen because everybody had blown up my phone. I found out that the Yankees had selected me at the 6th to last pick, and so that was such a big deal for me. It was just nice to see the hard work I had, just start to reveal itself. And so for anybody, like I said, never limit your opportunities, because they continue to create themselves. You might be surprised to see that the same thing can happen for you too. So yeah, guys, that's my story. A few things that I want you to know before the video is over. First off, I began in high school as a 5'5" kid, 120 pounds, slow, weak. I never think of your beginning as the ending, because there's still a lot to be done before you reach your goals. Secondly, I started my varsity career as a third baseman. Now I'm a shortstop in college. Don't get caught up in what position coaches have you at. As good as you are, coaches will find that, and then they'll be able to craft you into what they think you are. And so for me, I was a third baseman at the beginning, but as my high school developed and as college started, I was a shortstop. So, never really beat yourself up about where they put you. Just think about providing for your team. Yeah, guys, piggybacking on that, always dedicate yourself to development before exposure. Also, I'd like to say a model of somebody that you want to be like or you want to play like, or their circumstance that you like. Model everything you do after what they do, because that's what I did growing up in high school and still in college. And then if I ever get to the pro level, I'm going to look at pros that do the same thing. So Always have these role models to measure your game against, because if it's not up to theirs, then it's not good enough. So continue to work like that. Also, guys, invest in your program, and it'll invest in you. Worry about helping your team win games with whatever your role it is. Charts your first year. That doesn't mean it's not playing down the line. For me, it was pitching in state championship when I didn't even think I was a pitcher. Being able to do that for my team allowed me to open up doors for other opportunities for myself. So keep that in mind as well. Grades, guys. Make sure you keep your grades up. Having academic scholarships from your grades in high school and your ACT scores helps coaches recruit you. If they know that you have money coming into their university as a student, they know that you're going to be eligible. And so that's something that coaches think about when they're putting together a team. Lastly, guys, don't be afraid to email coaches your highlight tapes. I've probably emailed hundreds of emails of highlight clips, so never be worried when somebody doesn't respond. Because you'll never know. Lastly, I thought I was done. I had one more. Make sure your social media is clean, guys. So keep that in mind, man. Your Twitter is what a lot of coaches look at before they even pick up the phone to call you. So make sure that's clean. That said, the video is done, guys. I appreciate you guys staying tuned. If you have any questions about my recruitment or whatever you want, please put it down in the comments. I respond to every comment. But yeah, guys, take advantage of that. If you guys have questions about your baseball games as well, or want to ask me questions about stuff, I'm open to answer that as accurately as I possibly can. So that said, thank you guys for watching. 5 Guy out.